put salt on it to keep people from falling on it.
So once again, just give me your name and tell me what you do at the station.
My name's Marvin Hodges, and I was in the building and equipment maintenance in the Union Station.
When did you start?
1949.
So what made you come work at the station?
Well, half of my family worked down there in the mail, and I decided I wanted to work down there, so I hounded them till they hired me.
Stuck around for how long?
33 years.
So yeah, tell me about your family. Who all worked down here?
Well, my wife's father worked there almost all of his life. My brother worked there, and my wife's brother worked there, and an uncle worked there. Just pretty much all in the family. And I couldn't tell you half the name of the people that worked there, but I knew them by a nickname. Just about everybody had a nickname down here, and we'd go by that.
Did you have one?
No, not there. I did in the service.
Well, tell me a little bit about what it was like working here. Remember your first day?
Well, I don't exactly remember. I came in as a helper because they had a helper program that was supposed to be for 4 years, and you worked 3 days in maintenance and 1 day on elevators, and 1 day they had a man that goes around and picks up the oil in the elevator pits where it leaked. They have a bucket to catch the oil that leaked, and then we'd take it back in the building and run it through a filter and pump it back into the system. And 1 day was relieving him on his day off. And I worked there almost 6 years as a helper because there never did come up an opening. And then 1 day I was at home doing some decorating in my house and heard on the radio that one of the men got killed in a car accident, and I said, there's my job. I hated it, but that's how I got started as a maintainer instead of a helper.
What's your strongest memory of working at the station?
Well, it's been a long string of them. Like I said earlier, my thing I liked about my job was no monotony to it. You never knew what you was going to do when you come in to work until you got here, unless it was a follow-over from the day before. And I might come in and work on an elevator. I might come in and work on conveyors or plumbing, electrical work. And I remember one time when one of the men that wasn't too familiar with the elevator tried to put new leathers in the controller that Joe Barber was telling you about, and the elevator wouldn't stand still anywhere. It just couldn't control it. The boss called me and asked me, I was still a helper at the time, if I could come in and help him with it. And so I did, and I started tearing it down, and he'd left one of the old leathers in and put a new one on top of it. It wouldn't do nothing, so I helped him and we repaired that. And then the boss said, well, I can't pay you for this, but he says, I'll give you some extra time off. And the flood was quite an experience. I'll never forget that.
What was your position at the time?
Pumping water out. All we had to do was sit and make sure that the pumps were operating and keep them filled up with gas. I was running a gas-powered pump, and when we got down to floor level, then we had to go around to each elevator and pump the pit out of them. And it's kind of a funny thing in one way. This guy sat there in the subway all night pumping water out, and they wasn't aware that they was pumping it out and it was running right back in. And when we pumped the water down, some of the strangest things you'd see, and one of them that I'll never forget is they had a wire strung across between two posts, and it was one of the boxes that they kept their material in for running on the trains, and they'd floated over and come down on that wire and were perfectly balanced.
What was your best day on the job?
Payday.
All right.
You may have not realized it yet, but I'm somewhat of a clown in my old age.
What was did you ever have a scary day while working there?
Yes, quite a few of them.
What were some of those?
Well, the day I burned all the skin off of those three fingers down to the flesh, and I run that thumb through 2 gears one time, and we were changing the sump pump out in the West Subway, and we picked up the motor with the pump, and it started down, and I was holding it, and it pinched my hand right across here between a corner of an angle iron and about a ton of iron, and crushed that. And it go on and on. But you know, one of the things that I was told, and I never forgot it, was that when you're working out on the tracks in the snow, you can't hear a train coming. And you can't. They're just as quiet as a mouse. And you gotta watch.
Have some close calls with that?
No, because I was trained early on that. When we'd go out to plow snow off of the track so they'd haul the mail to the trains and back, why, we had to be real careful.
Keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Tell me about the heyday at the station. What do you remember about the crowds and what it was like?
Well, pretty hard for me to say anything about that, but I do remember that there's lots of people going through, and there's no one particular point that sticks in my mind other than that restaurant in the back where the people were going through there, the pilgrims or whatever you want to call it. Anyway,
tell me about some of the old timers that worked there.
well, it was one old timer. What was his name? Mac. We called him Mac, and he was older than I am now, and I'm 77. And he used to get some funny ideas. And one example is, and I'll try to make this quick, we had to change a belt, a lacing and a conveyor belt, and you had about this much room to work in, and they wanted to block it here and here, pull it in a foot, tie it, and then move the block back, pull in another foot. And another maintainer and I was working with him, and I told him, and his name was Chili. Like I said, nicknames, but anyway, I told him, I said, why can't we go up the line here a little ways and put our blocks on and pull it down, and then we block the chute where the belt went around the pulley into the chute, and lay that, feed it out onto the floor over there, and put the lacings in, and then feed it back in and hook it up. And in 45 minutes we had it going again. And the old man said, last time we done that, he said it took us 8 hours. All my life, even in the service, I've looked for easy ways to do things, and it applies to this Union Station too. I don't know whether you're interested in all this or not, but during the Christmas rush, I'd work a double shift. I'd work maintenance 8 hours, and then I'd go over and handle mail for 8 hours. And they assigned me to watching the traps. They were arms that hung down over the mail chute, and when they had these doors on the platform, they open up and they throw the mail down on a belt, and the belt go in. Well, by the time it passes under 8 chute doors, the mail sometimes got a little high and it tripped that trap. And I had two traps to watch. One was just inside of the doors to the subway, and the other one was about halfway down the line beside a steam-heated shanty. And I could sit in the steam-heated shanty, and if the belt quit, I could look out the window and see that that trap was all right. But the other one, I'd have to go down and walk through the doors and look up to see if it tripped or not. So I got a piece of wire and hooked into the trap. Had a double set of contacts in it, one to operate the controls on the belt and to stop it, and the other one was not being used. So I got an extension cord and plugged it into a light socket, run it through the other switch and run it through the door and hung it down and put a red light bulb in it. Then I sat in the shanty, and if the belt quit, I could look, and that one was all right, and the light was still on. I could stay in the steam-heated shanty. And different things like that. Well, they had about 15 to 20 people down on the separation plant for them. And every time that belt would go down, those people didn't have anything to do until they got it going again. And so that saved them a lot of money because you could go right to the trouble and get it going. Another thing, when I was working in the tractor shop, they bought 12 tractors, and I made so many changes on them that you wouldn't believe. And they even had a man from the factory come in and take the points that I had changed on them to apply to new tractors building for other people, because it made the work easier.
An easier way to do things.
Yeah, one was just drilling a little 3/4 inch hole in the floor of the tractor, and then you could stick your oil can in there along with a light and fill that throwout bearing out that had to be oiled. And another one was they had a shift like this on a column, and every morning when you come to work after they got a little old, they were so sloppy they'd lock in 2 gears at once, and we'd have several tractors tied up till we got there and straightened them out. And I talked them into buying a Hurst floor shift and putting 2 rods to the transmission and a lever where they could shift them this way, and it cured a lot of that. I'm kind of a what you'd call a lazy person and looking for an easy way out.
So, why do you think it's important to take care of this old building and restore it?
I've always said that as solid as that old building is, it costs more to tear it down than to fix it up. And I think it's a wonderful landmark. It's got a lot of memories there. And
Why do you think it means so much to people?
well, why do people save old photographs and things? Memories.
What's your proudest moment in working at the station?
Well, I've been proud of working there 33 years. I've never regretted a minute of it.
Anything that I haven't asked you about that you think I should have?
No, I don't think so. Pretty well covered
What did
it.
you think about walking through the building? Did it bring back a lot of memories?
Oh man, it didn't look quite the same though. But there's a lot of places there I did recognize, and I think when they get it done, it's going to be beautiful.